in the top-ranked school of finance and economics at National Key University, everyone lives in a world of numbers, profits, and ruthless capital logic. Here, family background, investment capability, and financial returns are the unspoken rules that define a student's worth. Professors judge students by their trading performance. Classmates compete fiercely over stock profits and fund yields, and everyone craves high returns, bold investments, and impressive asset growth to prove their talent and superiority. In this money-obsessed campus, people worship capital, disdain poverty, and mock anyone who chooses stability over risky profit, regarding conservative choices as incompetence and low financial IQ. My name is Sue Wan, a final-year finance undergraduate who has kept a thoroughly low profile for 4 full years. To every teacher and classmate around me, I am nothing more than an ordinary, unambitious student from a middle-class family with no powerful background, no investment capital, and no outstanding trading achievements. I never participate in campus stock competitions, never show off profit records in class groups, never discuss market trends with my classmates, and never invest a single cent in stocks, funds, or futures throughout my university career. While my classmates scrambled to open securities accounts, borrowed money to trade stocks, chased hot market sectors, and posted their daily profit screenshots to win admiration and praise, I kept my personal investment account blank all year round. My portfolio page always showed 0 investment records, 0 trading volume, 0 profit, and 0 loss. I lived simply, studied steadily, and never pursued the vanity of capital gains or the superficial superiority of market success. No one knew my true identity. I was the mysterious hidden top fund manager of the world-famous Aurora Global Capital, a private hedge fund giant headquartered on Wall Street. I started managing high-value offshore funds at the age of 16, independently operated billions of dollars in institutional assets, and created countless legendary trading records in international stock markets, foreign exchange markets, and futures markets. My annual yield far exceeded that of senior Wall Street elites, and my accurate market judgment and ruthless trading strategies have long made me a legendary figure in the global hidden financial circle. I chose to hide my identity and enter university as an ordinary student purely to study systematic financial theories and calm my impetuous mind. I had long been tired of the high-pressure capital game, the endless flattery of institutional elites, the hypocritical exchanges of the financial circle, and the crazy fluctuations of billions of assets. I hope to spend my youthful college years in peace, away from the hustle and bustle of Wall Street, without any fame or burden. Therefore, I deliberately sealed all my trading accounts, cut off all contact with the financial industry, abandoned all my elite identities, and became an ordinary finance student with a blank investment portfolio on campus. I thought my low-key campus life would end smoothly with graduation, that I thought my tolerance and low profile would keep me away from disputes and vanity. But I never expected that my deliberate stability and blank portfolio would become the target of public criticism and wanton belittlement by my arrogant professor and snobbish classmates. In their eyes, no investment record meant no ability, no profit meant mediocre talent, and stability meant cowardice and ignorance in the financial field. Professor Zhang Hao, our professional core tutor and the head of the school's finance department, was a rigid, arrogant, and extremely snobbish academic. He had worked in domestic securities institutions for several years and always considered himself a top financial elite. He worshipped capital supremacy extremely, believed that profit was the only standard to measure ability, and had always looked down on students with no investment performance. He was fond of targeting ordinary students, publicly criticizing their so-called low financial awareness, and praising students from wealthy families who dared to speculate and chase profits, even if their trading behaviors were extremely imprudent and risky. For 4 years, Professor Zhang had never favored me. Although my academic scores always ranked top 3 in the grade, my blank investment portfolio made him extremely disgusted with me. He often satirized me in class, saying that I was a bookworm who only knew theoretical knowledge, but had 0 practical ability, that I was unsuitable for the financial industry at all, and that I would never achieve any achievements in the capital market in my life. The most arrogant student in our class was Jiang Yuhan, the daughter of a local securities company executive. She had abundant family capital support, opened a large trading account as soon as she entered the university, and frequently traded stocks and funds. Although her annual yield was only mediocre and she often suffered small losses, she was good at packaging her achievements, selectively posting profit screenshots, hiding loss records, and creating the illusion of highly talented financial genius on campus. Jiang Yuhan was extremely vain and arrogant, relying on her family's connections and capital advantages to dominate various campus finance competitions. She was deeply favored by Professor Zhang, who always praised her as the most talented student in the department, the future star of the financial industry, and often used her to set off my incompetence and mediocrity. She had long been jealous of my stable academic performance and calm temperament, so she took the initiative to cooperate with Professor Zhang to mock and isolate me all year round, taking pleasure in belittling my blank portfolio to elevate her own false excellence. For a long time, I endured their repeated satire, and targeting silently, I knew that their cognition was limited to the superficial campus capital game. They could only see short-term stock profits and temporary trading gains, but could not understand the top-level capital layout and long-term strategic judgment of the real high-end financial circle. There was no need for me to argue with narrow-minded people who took trivial speculation as true ability. I thought that as long as I kept ignoring their provocation, I could finish my studies peacefully. But their arrogance and snobbery were endless. My tolerance was regarded as cowardice, my low profile was regarded as ignorance, and my deliberate non-investment was regarded as inability to invest. Finally, on the final comprehensive evaluation class before graduation, they completely broke through my bottom line and staged a brutal public humiliation that completely triggered my full counterattack. Hashtag the climax of humiliation, public belittling in front of the entire grade. The final professional comprehensive evaluation class was the most important summary course of the 4-year finance major. All senior students attended the class, and many young teachers and internship instructors also sat in to observe. The core assessment content of the class was the 4-year personal investment portfolio display and ability evaluation, which was also the key score affecting our graduation recommendation and internship qualification. On this day, every student carefully sorted out their 4-year trading records, profit curves, and investment cases, eager to get high evaluation from Professor Zhang and leave an excellent final impression. The classroom was full of comparison and vanity. Everyone was showing off their stock profits, fund yields, and investment experience, eager to prove their financial talent. Jiang Yuhan took the lead in stepping onto the podium to display her portfolio. She projected her selectively intercepted profit screenshots and trimmed yield curves on the large screen, boasting loudly about her so-called stable investment strategy and accurate market judgment. Professor Zhang watched the screen with a satisfied smile and kept praising her in front of the whole class. Excellent! Jiang Yuhan's portfolio is the most standard and outstanding case in our grade. Bold operation, flexible strategy, positive profit, and outstanding practical ability. This is the real financial talent who can integrate theory with practice. Unlike some students who only know how to memorize textbooks, have zero practical experience, and dare not take any risks to end the financial industry, courage and profitability are the hard truth. Those who are conservative and dare not try are doomed to be eliminated by the capital market. As soon as these words were said, all the students knew clearly that Professor Zhang was targeting me. Many classmates turned their eyes to my seat, full of ridicule and schadenfreude, waiting to watch me be publicly humiliated. After praising Jiang Yuhan vigorously, Professor Zhang's face turned cold instantly. He looked straight at me, his tone sharp and sarcastic, and directly called my name in front of the entire grade. "Su-Wan, come up and show your 4-year investment portfolio. Let everyone take a look at the so-called top student who ranks high in academic scores but has zero financial ability." I stood up calmly and walked slowly to the podium. Under the gaze of the whole class, I projected my 4-year investment account page on the large screen without any hesitation. The entire page was clean and blank, with no trading records, no asset changes, no profit or loss data, and the investment column was permanently zero. The moment the blank portfolio appeared on the screen, the entire classroom burst into loud, mocking laughter. The whispers and ridicule of classmates filled every corner of the classroom, sharp and harsh. Haha, it's completely empty. 4 years of university, not a single investment. No wonder she never shows off her profits. It turns out she really can't make any money at all. She's just a book nerd with no practical ability. She's totally unsuitable for finance. Jiang Yuhan crossed her arms and stood aside with a proud and disdainful smile. She took the initiative to speak up and add fuel to the fire, deliberately amplifying my embarrassment in front of everyone. Professor, don't blame her. After all, family background determines vision. Some people have no capital to invest, no family connections to guide them, and can only be timid and conservative. It's already very good for her to be able to pass the exam. We can't ask her to have the same financial talent as us. Her seemingly sympathetic words were full of deep sarcasm and superiority, which made the laughter in the classroom louder. Professor Zheng's face became extremely ugly. He stared at the blank screen, then looked at me with extremely disappointed and contemptuous eyes, and began to criticize me severely in a stern and merciless tone, word by word resounding throughout the classroom. Su Wan, I have tolerated your mediocrity for 4 years. Your academic scores are good, but your financial awareness is worse than that of a freshman. The core of finance is capital appreciation and risk arbitrage, but you have kept a zero investment portfolio for 4 years, doing nothing and making no progress. You are cowardly, incompetent, and lack the most basic courage and judgment of a financial person. You waste your excellent academic resources, only knowing rigid theoretical knowledge, but unable to practice and create any value. I tell you clearly today, with your zero investment resume and blank portfolio, no securities company, no fund institution, no financial enterprise in the whole city will hire you. You will never get a decent financial job in your life. You are the worst student I have ever taught in the finance department. Your 4 years of university are completely wasted. You can only be an ordinary office worker with no future, and you will never step into the real high-end financial circle. Every criticism was sharp and ruthless, completely denying my 4 years of efforts and my future possibilities. The whole class stared at me with mocking and pitying eyes, as if I was a total failure in the finance field, a mediocre waste who was eliminated by the industry in advance. Jiang Yuhan took the opportunity to step forward and pretend to persuade me hypocritically, but her words were full of piercing malice. Su Wan, don't be sad. Everyone has their own destiny. Some people are born with talent and capital to make money in the financial market, while some people are only suitable for stability and plainness. You'd better give up the financial industry honestly and find a simple clerical job in the future. After all, you really don't have the ability to play with capital. Facing the public humiliation of the professor and the deliberate ridicule of my classmates, I stood calmly on the podium without any fluster or anger. For 4 years, I had been tolerant and low-key, allowing them to misunderstand and belittle me. But today, their unscrupulous trampling on my dignity and arbitrary denial of my ability had completely exhausted my last trace of patience. They took short-term petty speculation as ability, superficial campus profit as excellence, and ignorant arrogance as confidence. They didn't know that the trivial stock trading they were proud of was just the most basic amateur operation in the financial market, and the so-called elite circle they yearned for was just the lowest threshold of the real capital world. Since they are so obsessed with superficial profits and arrogant judgment, I will completely shatter their false cognition with absolute strength today, let them see what real top-level capital operation is, and let them pay the price for their ignorance and snobbery. #explosive full reversal. Wall Street legend shocks the entire classroom. Under the stunned and mocking gaze of the whole class, I slowly picked up the remote control of the projection screen and switched the blank personal student portfolio page to another completely different official system page with a calm expression. The moment the new page was projected on the large screen, the noisy classroom instantly fell into dead silence. All laughter, discussion, and ridicule stopped abruptly. Every student, including Professor Zhang and the observing teachers, stared at the screen with wide eyes, their faces full of earth-shaking shock and incredible disbelief. What appeared on the screen was the official background trading interface of Aurora Global Capital, the top Wall Street hedge fund. The top of the page clearly displayed the Supreme Fund Manager Identity Certification, exclusive private trading permissions, and real-time asset data that ordinary people could never access. The huge asset data on the screen was dazzling and terrifying. Total managed assets of $8 billion US, cumulative 4-year trading yield of 427%, annual excess return ranking top 3 in global hedge funds, countless successful cross-border arbitrage cases, accurate short-selling records of international market crashes, and strategic investment layouts of top global listed companies. The account identity column clearly marked Chief Fund Manager Sue Wan, the core founder and sole decision-maker of Aurora Global Capital. Boom. The entire classroom exploded in extreme shock. Everyone's brain went blank instantly, and no one could believe the scene in front of them. The mediocre student with a blank zero investment campus portfolio who was just ridiculed as incompetent and useless, the girl who was denied by the professor as having no future in finance, was actually a top Wall Street fund god who managed billions of dollars in assets and crushed countless international financial elites. The zero investment on my campus account was not because I was incompetent, but because I disdained this trivial domestic stock speculation. The so-called high-profit trading that my classmates were proud of was just child's play in front of my cross-border capital arbitrage. Professor Zhang's body trembled violently, his legs went weak, and he almost fell to the ground. His previous stern and arrogant expression completely collapsed, replaced by extreme panic and daze. He stared at the terrifying asset data on the screen, his lips trembling constantly, unable to say a single word. Jiang Yuhan's proud smile froze rigidly on her face, her whole body was stiff, her face turned from red to pale, and finally completely bloodless. The false sense of superiority she had maintained for 4 years was completely shattered in an instant. Her so-called excellent investment performance and financial talent were ridiculously trivial and incompetent in front of my terrifying achievements. All the students who had mocked me just now lowered their heads deeply, their faces burning with intense shame and regret. They had ridiculed a real top financial legend as a mediocre waste and took their trivial amateur speculation as capital to show off and bully others. It was the most ignorant and ridiculous joke in the world. I stood calmly on the podium, my cold eyes slowly sweeping over the terrified Professor Zhang and the desperate Jiang Yuhan, and my clear voice resounded throughout the silent classroom, powerful and deterrent. You said I have zero investment ability and no financial talent. These 4 years, I have no campus trading records only because I disdain to participate in trivial domestic stock speculation. The capital I manage every day is far beyond the imagination of your so-called elite circle. You take short-term stock profits as ability and campus speculation as excellence, but you don't know that real high-end finance is strategic layout, cross-border arbitrage, and asset value preservation and appreciation on the global dimension, not petty gambling in the domestic secondary market. Professor Zhang, you denied my future in public and said no financial institution would hire me. Now tell me, with my asset management performance and global trading records, which domestic enterprise is qualified to hire me? Every word I said hit their hearts hard, completely crushing their previous arrogance and prejudice. At this moment, the classroom door was suddenly pushed open. A group of elite men in high-end custom suits walked in quickly and respectfully. The leading man was the top regional chief executive of Aurora Global Capital's Asia-Pacific branch, who had rushed over from the city's top financial center after receiving my temporary notice. The CEO walked straight to the podium, bent over 90 degrees respectfully in front of all the teachers and students, and said in a solemn and reverent tone, "Respected President Su, all Asia-Pacific branch staff are at your disposal. We have received your instruction and come to terminate all irrelevant cooperative relations and clear all inappropriate comments and evaluations." The moment this sentence fell, the whole class was completely shocked again. Even the top regional CEO of Wall Street's top fund bowed respectfully to me, which was enough to prove my supreme status in the financial circle. Hashtag thorough final counterattack and irreversible ending. Professor Zhang finally recovered from the extreme shock. He was so scared that his whole body trembled, cold sweat soaked through his shirt. He rushed forward in panic, his face full of fear and flattery, and begged for mercy tremblingly. "President Su, I'm wrong. I'm ignorant and short-sighted. I have no eyes to recognize a genius. I spoke recklessly and slandered your ability just now. Please forgive my fault. I beg you not to care about my ignorance." He completely lost the dignity and arrogance of a university professor, humble and flustered, eager to beg for my forgiveness. He knew clearly that with my status and power, it was easier than crushing an ant to ruin his academic career and professional reputation completely. Jiang Yuhan also collapsed on the ground weakly, tears streaming down her face, full of endless regret and despair. She had relied on her family's trivial connections and petty profits to show off her superiority for 4 years, mocking and isolating me repeatedly, but she never thought that the person she had bullied wantonly was the top financial god she could never afford to offend in her entire life. She crawled towards me tremblingly, kowtowed repeatedly, and cried bitterly to beg for mercy. "Su-Wan, I'm sorry. I was vain and arrogant. I deliberately mocked you and targeted you. I know I'm wrong. Please forgive me. Don't ruin my future." I looked at the two people begging for mercy indifferently, without the slightest pity in my eyes. All their humiliation and slander were intentional. All their arrogance and prejudice were self-inflicted. There was no slightest excuse for their ignorance and snobbery. I looked at the CEO beside me and gave my cold and decisive order without any hesitation. First, completely terminate all cooperative projects and internship cooperation channels between Aurora Global Capital and this university's finance department. Permanently cancel all school recruitment quotas, scholarship support, and industry exchange qualifications of the school. Second, issue a formal industry-wide notice to expose Professor Zhang's snobbish teaching attitude, wrong educational concepts, and arbitrary denial of students' talents. Report his inappropriate behavior to the school's academic committee and suggest the school dismiss him and revoke his teaching qualification permanently. Third, completely blacklist Jiang Yuhan and her family's securities company from all global fund institutions and high-end financial circles. Permanently reject all their industry cooperation, job application, and qualification certification applications, completely cutting off their family's financial industry development path. Fourth, make a public clarification announcement in the National Financial Education Circle, correct the wrong profit-oriented educational concept of the school's finance department, and warn all industry practitioners not to judge talents by superficial gains and temporary data. Execute all orders immediately. Yes, we will strictly implement all instructions. The CEO responded respectfully, without any delay. As soon as the order was issued, Professor Zhang's whole body went limp and he collapsed to the ground. His decades of teaching career, academic reputation, and social status were completely destroyed in an instant because of his momentary arrogance and snobbery. He lost all his teaching qualifications and became the laughingstock of the National Education Circle overnight. Jiang Yuhan's family's securities company was completely blocked by the high-end financial circle. All cooperative businesses were terminated, All industry resources were cut off, and the company faced huge losses and even bankruptcy risks. Her dream of entering the top financial circle and relying on her family's resources to soar in her career was completely shattered. She became the most ridiculous joke in the grade, with no future and no way out. All the classmates who had followed the crowd to mock me were also extremely ashamed and panicked. They deeply realized how ridiculous their superficial vanity and narrow cognition were. From then on, no one in the whole school dared to judge others by superficial data and temporary gains, and no one dared to be snobbish and arrogant in front of others. After solving all the farces, I turned and left the podium calmly under the respectful gaze of all the elite executives and the ashamed teachers and students. True top-level strength is never displayed through superficial vanity and trivial gains. Real financial talent never needs short-term profit screenshots to prove its value. Those who are trapped in superficial cognition, worship trivial capital profits, and arbitrarily judge others' worth will eventually be eliminated by the times and the industry because of their own ignorance and arrogance. I keep a low profile not because I am incompetent, but because I disdain superficial competition. I choose stability not because I am cowardly, but because I have long stood at the top of the capital pyramid, overlooking all trivial struggles in the world. Kindness needs edges and corners, low profile has bottom lines, and strength never needs flaunting. No matter how ordinary I appear, the strength in my hands is enough to crush all arrogance and ignorance in the world.